What is up, fellow gamers, and welcome back to another KSP video. And in today's video, I finally decided I was going to travel to a different planet, and the planet I decided to go to was Duna. And in case you guys didn't know, Duna is one of the easiest planets to land on, but it's also kind of hard and weird to take off because Duna's atmosphere starts out thick and immediately gets thinner as you rise into the vacuum of space. Now, I've watched a couple of tutorials before starting a mission, including Scott Manley's interplanetary travel tutorial and another tutorial on how to build a rocket to Duna. And both seemed very simple because for the Scott Manley tutorial, all I needed to learn was how to get into a transfer window with Duna, and all you needed to do was get both planets, Kerbin and Duna, and basically get them into a position where if you drew a line from Duna to the sun and then back to Kerbin, that line crossing the sun would have to be close around 45 degrees. And for the other tutorial, I was having trouble finding an engine that was called the Poodle engine because it was designed differently in the tutorials version in that game, but it looked different on my version of the game. I'm not really quite sure why, but yeah, that's why you could see me taking a little bit while because I was reading like all the thrust to weight ratio stuff, and yeah, I just wanted to see if it was the same as the different version of the other one in the tutorial. But yeah, we could add a couple of RCS thrusters to that, and maybe a couple of solar panels, just to keep the power going. And I'll add a couple of mono propellant tanks, and then we can add some ladders. And for this, I usually have problems with like ladders because sometimes the Kerbal doesn't get onto the ladder properly, so I had to test it and to make sure it was working properly. And I also played with the landing leg strengths, but in the end it worked out pretty good. So now I know the lander's ready, so we can now continue on building pretty much the rest of the rocket that will be lifting off. But at first I had to check my staging because when we are going to enter Duna's atmosphere, I want the parachutes to release first and not decouple the command pod from the rest of the rocket. But yeah, you can see me building the base of the rocket, and then we'll add a couple of boosters along as well. So we can grab our hydraulic decoupler, so we can add a couple of side boosters to that. So I wanted the boosters to be like a little bit more upper, if you know what I mean. But yeah, we can put a few struts on those and put the nose cones, and yeah, construction is complete. So we can now put in our little cinematic zoom in of the rocket and get it ready for liftoff. And yeah, I do realize those like things holding the rocket, they're kind of overkill because they're so high. But a weird problem I was having is off camera I put in one of those fuel transfer thingies, and for some reason it literally broke, and that was the explosion you saw. So I was a little bit confused by it. At first I thought it was because I was going too fast, so I brought the throttle down a little bit, and then I brought it back up as soon as I reached halfway or midway through the atmosphere. But yeah, we can see our apparatus increasing, so we can cut those boosters and then set our maneuver node to get us into orbit, and we can time warp that a little bit. Also, another thing I noticed during the liftoff is that this rocket, like, extremely does not have good, or I should say this, like, the rocket is not good at all aerodynamically speaking, because like it was just wobbling around a lot. But yeah, we can set Duna as our target now that we're in orbit. We can go to our maneuver node, and as I said before, it's like planning in an essay basically. So yeah, we're gonna prograde a lot, and then try and get our apparatus to try and get into like the closest encounter with the Mun's sphere of influence. And if you can see those like two little like arrow looking things, they're blue, and yeah, basically we need to get those like as close as we can, and the closer they are, that means we'll have a encounter with Duna's sphere of influence. And it took me a little while, and aha, you see right there. So we can focus view on Duna and see where our periapsis is. So let's zoom in, and you can see it right below there, and it's obviously not, we're not gonna make it to the planet if we were going in that direction, but I just wanted to play around with the maneuver node to see if I can get it any closer, because I wanted to use the anti-normal, or I'm not really quite sure what it's called, and I know there's two modes. There's called anti-normal and regular normal, but yeah, we can get into our maneuver node position to get us ready for the long burn, and I decided to quick save it as Duna 1, because a couple of tries I forgot to quick save like an idiot, and it didn't quite work out the way I expected it. But yeah, we can execute the burn and wait as our apoapsis increases. You can see our 3 brave pilots in the bottom right corner. And while I was taking the burn, I wanted to read a few physical characteristics of Duna. And yeah, like I said, Duna's atmosphere is very thin. But yeah. Okay, so we can see our apoapsis increasing, so we have that done. Okay, so as I said before, we are clearly not gonna make it to Duna Sphere of Influence, because, you know, it's not always gonna be perfect, but that's why we have to add another maneuver, probably like a third of the way of the flight, so we can zoom in. And it took me like forever, because the anti-normal and the normal maneuver nodes, like, it was just like completely super fast, and it was like super hard to control, because they really should be like a slower thing. I mean, it probably could have worked out if I decrease the sensitivity, maybe, but I should probably give that a try sometime. But yeah, as you can see, I am trying to get those 2 little arrows as close as we can. And yeah, you can see I made a transition. So yeah, this is pretty much the best I could have done, because it was like, as I said before, the normal and anti-normal is just like super fast. But yeah, we have our maneuver node for our midway flight, and oh wow, you can see how far we already made it off of Kerbin. So yeah, that sort of demonstrates how long it took me to make that maneuver node as perfect as I could. So we could warp right now, and it is kind of slower than I wish it was, but you can see on the top left corner it's like as fast as we can go. So we'll just have to be a little bit patient and prepare to make our burn. So yeah, I completely messed that up, and another thing I realized is I actually made a second attempt to do it, and for some reason, I don't know if it was because of the timing of my burning, but yeah, apparently when I finished the amount of meters per second I was trying to make, it still didn't make it to the Sphere of Influence, and I was like super confused and frustrated. I'm like, why didn't it work? But yeah, I had to create a whole nother maneuver node for that. And yeah, as you can see, I've burned to where we will arrive at Duna's like pretty much almost the atmosphere, but not close enough to it. But yeah, you guys should know what I mean. I guess I could put it like as orbital height, maybe. But yeah, then I realized I was way too late on the burn, because there was a lot of delta V to burn, and yeah, at first I thought I completely messed up, and I almost decided to go back from the previous quick save, and I was like, forget about it. But yeah, you can see I overdid the burn too, so I just wasted even more delta V. So but yeah, it was easily fixable. So yeah, we're now in a stable Duna orbit, and you can see Duna's huge moon, Ike, That's what it's called. But yeah, so I did a retrograde burn to get us into the lower atmosphere. So we can. Oh, and also, since Duna's atmosphere is super thin, you actually have to use some of the engines to slow yourself down because you would be going way too fast anyway if all your parachutes weren't deployed. But yeah, I messed up again. As you can see from that, I accidentally deployed the capsule because I was a little bit confused on why the parachutes weren't deploying. But then I realized it was because there's like a setting for it to like have them deploy at a certain height. But yeah. And then my second attempt went wrong because I was going too fast and I stupidly didn't slow myself down enough because I was going around 10 meters per second, and that's pretty much overkill when you're trying to make a Duna landing. At least it's not like Eve, because Eve's atmosphere is very thick, and it will slow you down tremendously to where you won't even need your engines to boost yourselves. But yeah, I went a little bit. I was very careful this time. So yeah, as we descend down, I try and keep our speed low, and there we have it. Now, in case if you're wondering, we clearly do not have much delta V at this point, and yeah, I clearly noticed that too. But here, there's our little cinematic, I guess, rotation of the planet's surface. So we can retract our ladder. But yeah, as I was saying, this was kind of a failed mission because we clearly don't have enough delta V to get back to Kerbin. But yeah, I just decided to revert the whole thing. But yeah, we can have Jebediah, or actually I think that was Bob Kerman. I don't know, that was probably Bob, but actually no, it was Bill Kerman. But yeah, we can have Jebediah plant the flag just like that. So now we can have Jebediah take a little run around of the red planet. And as you can see, we turn on his headlights. So we can have him take a surface sample. The surface consists of a grainy, very fine sand-like dust, and it appears to be getting everywhere. So since this is a sandbox mode, we're not going to gain any signs for that, and that's okay. Besides, I didn't also transmit it to. I mean, I could have added an antenna, but yeah, we can see Jebediah jumping and then end up falling and breaking his neck. But yeah. So as I was saying, this was a failed mission, unfortunately. But who knows? Maybe in a future video, we could do better. Also, I learned that in order to have the monopropellant jetpacks, you actually have, during construction, you have to have like the monopropellant all the way up in your capsule or command pod. But yeah. So yeah, since this is a failed mission, I guess we could just wrap up the video and yeah, wrap it up with a little cinematic zoom out. And yeah, if you guys are not already, please leave a like on the video, and also be sure to subscribe to my channel, and be sure you turn on that bell so you'll get a notification, and I'll see you in the next one.